From the heart of the free state of New Hampshire, this is The Independents with Carla Garrick. And now, here's your host, Carla Garrick.
Hi guys, and welcome back to The Independents. It is so fantastic to be back here beaming into your homes. Today is of course Wednesday, which means tomorrow is Thursday. And what is happening tomorrow on May 28th right here in Manchester, New Hampshire? We have our taco tour. Of course, that is where downtown basically stops. It's hard to get here. The cars back up on the highways because apparently everyone in New Hampshire likes a good deal and they love coming down for the taco tour. Now that tour used to take place on the 5th of May with Cinco de Mayo, somehow got moved. You know how it is when our overlords are constantly trying to move the dates around as if they can control all things. But they apparently did control the taco tour. So tomorrow, Thursday, the 28th of May, downtown Manchester for your taco feast across our great city. What else are we going to be talking about today? I do want to give a shout out to Carol and Dan McGuire, longtime libertarians, Republicans from Epsom. They have been serving up at the State House forever. So I'm going to talk a little bit about them retiring from the State House to go do other awesome things. But the main thrust of today's show is going to be about self-ownership and really starting to grapple a little bit with what happened during COVID mania, how we're discovering the truth of the gain-of-function lab leak, the fact that they actually are making these more virulent viruses, which, by the way, they're literally taking viruses that aren't in humans and breeding them into mice with humanized lungs in order to see what would happen, i.e. gain-of-function, Frankenstein nonsense that no one with a good conscience should support. So we're going to be talking a little bit about right of conscience. What happened? How did they manage to override your will? Why did you stop listening to your own intuition? Why did you kind of go like full frontal nasty? Maybe you were calling people grandma killers. Maybe you were like narking on your neighbors. Maybe you were that nasty person who was like mask up or else. The reality is a lot of good people behaved badly, and I think it behooves us to sort of figure out why that is. And I have at least 5 hacks that you can do to make sure it doesn't happen to you again. Now, where all of this started this morning when I was doing my show prep was with this court case where Maha was working on the right of conscience and the religious exemptions based out of New York City. And for whatever, who knows what's up with the Trump administration reasons at this stage, i.e. pay to play, obviously someone who greased some palms would be my best guess. The Trump DOJ has now come out and said, hey, don't look at this case. Now, you might argue there are some legitimate reasons. It probably is a bit of a messy case. The case itself is called Doe's versus Hochul. That, of course, was the lady who was in charge there in New York City. So the way to look at it is it does feel like Trump's DOJ's position is actually a betrayal, like an extra level of betrayal on something that Maha is trying to fix. Because basically what happened was This involves healthcare workers in New York City who were fired for refusing the COVID vaccine on sincere religious grounds. So New York Section 261 mandate, which was issued under Hochul, required vaccinations for healthcare professionals, but explicitly allowed only medical exemptions. So instead of saying, as is usually the practice and has been for more than a century, that you have the right of conscience, what is that? That is literally your right to your little voice in your head. It is the part of you that can go, no, right? And we all know, we all have that voice. We are often taught to suppress it, right? Because it is useful for you to sort of override the do I want to go to my job today kind of voice in your mind, right? But it exists, and it exists for a reason. And during COVID mania, there was a very concerted effort that is not solely your fault, but ultimately, if I'm going to make an argument for self-ownership, I am also making the argument that you have to take personal accountability for your own decisions. But if you masked up, if you got the jab, if you were mean, all of those things, this show is going to be for you. So in that court case, they said, hey, you're not allowed to use any religious exemptions anymore. You can only use medical exemptions. Now, that is not how things have worked in the past. There has always been religious exemptions and right of conscience exemptions. And so this is a troubling position for the Trump administration to take. Now, basically, Trump's amicus brief, which was filed yesterday, argues that the mandate was repealed, so the whole issue is now moot. So they're just basically saying like, it's too late, right? They're saying it's not the right vehicle for a decision to go in front of SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. I actually think that might be their most valid argument. The petitioners in this original case weren't seeking a full exemption, which under New York law was prohibited. So it's not the proper accommodation. Again, this is what the Trump DOJ is arguing as to say why this case should not go in front of the Supreme Court. So anti-vax, in air quotes, people like me, meaning people who are critical thinkers and who were the earliest reality adopters, i.e. the people who actually understood what was happening and were making a noise and thereby getting censored for it, were warning about all of these things. So the employers might have been able to offer other things like a reassignment or a PPE. So basically, the Trump administration is saying that, no, this isn't the right case to go in front of SCOTUS, so we're going to say don't take the case. So my money is on the case isn't going to go forward. If you're interested in this topic, I highly recommend Aaron Siri, S-I-R-I's feed on X. He's very good, a lawyer who's been doing a lot of the really heavy lifting on this issue. But it sounds like that case probably will not go forward now, which is a disappointment for those of us who are looking for a little more guidance on why a state could possibly override your actual will, like your actual mind, your actual right of conscience. And maybe a good way to sort of think about this issue a little bit is who owns you? Does the government own you? Does the government own you when they panic about something? Do they have to be right about what they panicked about? Are they allowed to be like really, really, really wrong in real time and then 6 years later be like, oops, but let's move on. It's moot now. Or should we make sure we are in the present, in the now, in every moment, aware and conscious of what is happening so that you can stand guard yourself and claim self-ownership over your body and over your mind, which of course is actually your right of conscience. So here's what I want to get into is I know you wanted to be a good person. You wanted to trust the experts. In fact, you did trust the experts. You masked up, you got the shots, maybe you shamed a few people because they told you your body ended where someone else's risk began. Now, at the heart of it, that is what the term grandma killer meant. Now, I want to stand still with this term for just a moment. First of all, I want you to be honest with yourself. If you were one of the critical thinkers, did people actually say it to you, or did you perceive it as a concept that was seeded into the world where everyone was suddenly talking about grandma killer? Because I had to stop and actually ask myself that. And if I'm honest, and I would like to point out, I was banned off X for 6 months. I've been heavily censored on most social media channels since then. And so, I couldn't necessarily get the word out. But it is true that one time that I can recall, I got several death threats. And one time that I could recall, someone did call me a grandma killer. But be honest with yourself. Did it really happen, or was it kind of a story we all started to hear? Now, why that in particular? Because that's such a clever play to influence your behavior, because basically it was propaganda that convinced you why that a probabilistic risk, right? Like something bad may happen out there, right? So if you're a grandma killer, it's like you didn't get the vaccine, now you get the virus, now you go to a store, now you touch a bag of Cheerios, now grandma touches the bag of Cheerios next, and grandma's dead, right? So that's sort of the chain of command they're playing at. But this is a probabilistic risk that doesn't really make sense in real time. So what I want us to stand with today is how you can rebuild trust in yourself after being lied to. Like what can actually happen, what can change, what can you do differently next time, why your body is the ultimate backyard. And what do I mean by that? I mean backyard first. So this administration, some numbnuts, a bunch of people, everyone's throwing around something first. So I'm going to throw around backyard first. What do I mean by that? I mean clean up your own backyard before you sally forth into the world and try and make an impact positively or negatively, and often negatively if your own backyard isn't in shape. So backyard first, meaning your body, your perimeter, your literal home that I hope you choose to own, and certainly should if you're moving to New Hampshire to come take advantage of the great state we have here with our low taxes, no income and dividends taxes, no sales tax, and people are starting to see New Hampshire is an attractive an attractive place to live. So backyard first, you sort yourself out first, figure out how to rebuild trust in yourself. I'm going to give you some tips for high agency behavior, because here's a reality. A lot of this goofiness, if I'm being nice, but a lot of just lack of common decency and lack of impulse control that I am noticing in the fringes of our community, including what we saw at the Libertarian Convention over the weekend with various scandals, including, I guess, LPNH got decertified. there was an altercation between two groups of people where it ended up that a man slapped a woman. Let me just say categorically from first principles, especially if you're pretending to like speak for Western men, men don't hit women. That is a first principle. I can't believe I have to say it out loud. All right, so, and then I will delve into the real lessons from COVID mania and what we can do going forward. So here's what I want us to slow down to. The question of who actually owns your body, mind, and your life. Because post-COVID mania or during COVID mania, I hope you now understand that the government that created the virus that escaped, that caused the lockdowns and all the knock-on effects, claimed during COVID that they own your body. And states like New York, where they did not even let you have a religious exemption, was them literally saying, not only do I own your body, and I will tell you to put this experimental thing in it, and oh, by the way, the guys putting it in you, they have no liability, and oh, by the way, we're gonna hide the data, so shh, don't ask questions, and oh, by the way, anyone who actually is trying to alert the world to the issues, those people will censor. Oh, by the way, the government said they think they own you. And the question you should ask yourself is, do you think the government does own you? And if you don't, what can you start to do about it? Well, the number one thing you can do about it is to reclaim self-ownership over yourself, over your body, by which I mean you have to be healthy, not pretend healthy. I've said it a million times. You cannot fake health and you cannot fake skills. Why not? You can, of course, fake it till you make it. That is how we all get better over time. But you can't actually fake something that you can't do. And you can't fake health. So if you are watching this and you're like, you know, that lady with the funny hair, she's kind of right, then I want you to make a promise to yourself that you are not going to get suckered again when the government comes with their BS and nonsense and they try and pit your compassion and your empathy against yourself by saying that by doing this thing that you do not want to do, that you inherently feel you should not do, you're doing for other people, and somehow that's the greater good. Now ask yourself, if everyone is doing something against their will for everyone else, and that thing is bad for them on net, why? Why are they doing it? Now, the reason, of course, is we saw some of the most impressive psyops, most impressive propaganda, most impressive censorship programs that we have ever seen in the history of the world. So again, it's not your fault. But now that you know, what are you going to do about it? So, you, like me, need to understand that you got swept up. You wanted to protect your family. You trusted the institutions. You wore the mask. You got the shots. Some of you shamed your neighbors. I'm not here to beat you up about it. I'm here to free you from what happened. This is what they did. So here's the magic trick. Your body ends where someone else's risk begins. So what they basically said is they sort of just transferred risk in a way that we don't do as a society. And anytime you see them do that, that is where your rights are being coerced and being taken over where they do not exist from the government's side. So basically, They said your body ends where someone else's risk begins. So they're saying the choice not to get vaccinated wasn't a personal health decision. It was an act of aggression against vulnerable people. Now, let me unpack that for a second. So basically what was argued is if you didn't do this thing that you didn't want to do, then by not doing the thing, that was aggression against someone else. Now, clearly, that is insane. You can't have an omission. You can't have someone not doing something and then have someone else who's trying to force you to do it argue by not doing it, you're harming someone else. Where there is no causality, there was no, no one could prove that that germ on that Cheerio box gave that grandma COVID and then she died, right? Because here's the thing. If that's how the world worked, we would be in constant litigation because everything is a risk. Every time you leave the house, and indeed even when you don't leave the house, you can fall in the bathtub, you could trip off a ladder, you could die in a million ways. Life is risky, right? So the argument from the start was very, very fake, but so many people fell for it. And it's because you're a good person. So that's almost the worst of it for me, is because they claimed this ownership over your body and you went along with it because it made you feel good. I mean, I'm not crazy about the term suicidal empathy. That's Sad Gad. New book, Suicidal Empathy. I've taken Elon and him on the title itself. I think it is bad to seed the word suicidal into the world, but actually that is the most fitting one that we have here. And actually I came up with a new term called, statistical fetishism. All of this is on my website, carlagerrick.com, where I make the case that a lot of people are taking just these absurdist positions, like these really, really bad mind-controlled positions, and I'm seeing it amongst our people too. So I only have a few minutes left here probably, so I want to make sure I do get into practical ways to stop this from happening again, or practical ways to reclaim your sense of self, your self-ownership in the now. Put your backyard first, put your body first, put your mind first, put your soul first, right? So here are some practical ways, and then maybe we'll go into a deeper dive. So first of all, I think the first thing that you really actually have to do here is you have to forgive yourself. Everyone got suckered. A good chunk of people got suckered. Now, I did not get suckered. I got censored. But I feel for all of you because I feel like less of you would have gotten suckered if less of us or fewer of us were censored. So, forgive yourself. This will help you reset your emotional foundation. So what I would propose is write a short letter to yourself from 2020 to 2022. Like, really sit with it. Spend the time and be like, what did I do? What could I have done better? Why did I behave this way? How was I fearful? How was I bad to my neighbors? How was I good to people? Maybe there are good things in there as well, which of course you should identify. But I think if you write that letter to yourself and just be honest that you were trying to be a good person, you acted on the information that you had at the time, and you were fearful in a way that didn't really allow you to think things through, and that is very, very human, then forgive yourself, read that letter out loud, burn it, delete it off your computer, and then replace your self-blame with the following. I learned that knowledge is now mine. And then every time you sort of get that like, oh, but remind yourself, because you have to build those neural links in order to be more effective in the future. And the goal with that little action, so forgiving yourself through writing a letter, destroying the letter, and then reminding yourself when it comes back up that you learned something and that knowledge is now yours. This will give you the grounds to stop feeling shame about what happened and to allow you to really start to run with it. Run a personal after COVID review. Maybe take one COVID decision you made, something you feel not great about, whether it was the masking or the jab or the shaming of others. And then ask yourself, what information did I trust that time that you might actually not do next time? And then start to equip yourself with the tools to make sure you don't do it again. Teach yourself how to read primary sources. You know, if you want to be free, if you want self-ownership, there's responsibility as well, right? So you can look at like the 3 source rule. So you could say, look at a major claim and then actually look at 2 other sources where it's people who might not actually agree with you and kind of see, is everyone sort of saying the same thing even though they don't all agree? Then it's probably true, right? So run your personal after action review. Rebuild your personal information filter through daily practice. And this is where you have to start looking at your sourcing. You have to ask yourself, is this an institution I can trust? And then also start to reclaim your bodily trust through small experiments in getting more healthy. So pick something, your sleep, your diet, whatever it is. There's one small thing you could be tweaking from today on that is going to make you a better human. Practice saying no. I have to say no very soon because I'm going to run out of time. Rebuild real world evidence networks. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with not people who are all in the same echo chamber. That's equally unhealthy. Make sure you have a robust mix of people in your life. I mean, come on, it's not rocket science. And then build your long-term confidence through saying no, through trusting your body, through being healthy, so that you will not be suckered next time one of their little projects waves through the world, so that we can together stand together to say, hey, 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 you're not going to get away with it again. All right, I have a million other things I wanted to talk about. I was a little over the place. This is all new subject matter for me, so I'm still trying it out. I didn't even get to talk about Dan and Carol Maguire. Go to the Concord Monitor, get the article. The headline is, "It's Long Enough. Longtime libertarian influences Dan and Carol Maguire will retire from the State House this year." I would like to thank them for their service. They were exemplary humans, MIT graduates, people who've invested a ton into the Free State and into the great state of New Hampshire. So from me, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are justly off to do your bridge and your fantastic tours and all of that good stuff. I will be back here again next week, where I will probably rant on about something new. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. I wish you peace, love, and understanding.